So, here we go. If we don't get anywhere with this, I'll just explain to you what it was. And we had a person in a small town.
Hello.
Hello there. I'm calling not in anger, but out of curiosity. I understand you have had a billboard in your small city in Canada. Is that right? And
Yes,
I'm calling the number on the board, so hopefully this is not considered any kind of harassment. But basically, you had a board up there with some. You say God says no to homosexuality and abortion, but that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I see here you've got Bibles back in the schools. Let the Bible be the teacher. That's a very important message from you. And also marijuana or peace with God. You got the Bible's one written in red. The marijuana or peace with God is written in green. And so I'm calling to ask, because at the bottom of this billboard, it says a ship without a rudder is tossed to and fro. So I just wanted to get your take. You've got three different messages on there. God says no to homosexuality and abortion. The other message, that's in blue. Then in red it says Bibles back in schools, let the Bible be your teacher. And then in green it says marijuana or peace with God. These are three different messages, and I'm a little confused by what you're trying to get across. And I was wondering if you could share that with me.
Take your pick on any one of them, and we'll go through it. But
Okay, Bibles back in schools. Let the Bible be your teacher. How long have they not been in schools? Like a long time, right?
I would say, let's see, 82. Oh man, putting her 40 years. No.
40 years,
65.
long time, decades. Okay.
40 years. Yeah.
Okay, so
Where are you from?
I'm from Toronto. My name is Alan. I'm just down the road here. Now, did the sign get taken down?
Sign is down.
And why was that?
Because the farmer who owned the property, people were starting to blame him for putting the sign up.
Oh, I see.
And they were his neighbors, or not maybe his neighbors, but he has a farm there, and we were down talking to him today, and he said people were stopping and just harassing him.
They're harassing him, yeah. Because are they saying that it feels like it's hate speech or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the thing that I wanted to ask you about was if we're going to get the Bibles back in the schools, and that's, you've got a new premier now. Maybe he's going to do that, because they certainly haven't had them in there for a long time. But the other point here is that you say marijuana or peace with God. Now, can you talk about that one a bit? And we'll get to the homosexuality one later. But can you talk about the marijuana or peace with God? So you're saying there's a difference between the two?
Yes. Once we get into medical marijuana, we take medical marijuana for a mental condition. And if you are taking medication in the form of marijuana, and you are continuing to be depressed or whatever the problem is, then you're entitled, or kind of leading in the direction of taking more. Eventually it gets to the point where it is harmful, and we're paying for it.
Okay, well, may I ask you a question? I mean, I have some certain medical needs. Are you a person that uses any kind of medication whatsoever yourself? High blood pressure, or cholesterol, or heart pills, anything?
Once in a while, I take high blood pressure pill.
Oh, and you don't find that to be a crutch at all? You don't find that to be an artificial assistant whatsoever?
I'll tell you what it is. It's a cinnamon capsule.
Oh, cinnamon.
You can buy it in the the grocery store.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Well, let me ask you this then, because we were talking about Bibles coming back into the schools.
Sure.
And we're also talking but there's a particular phrase in the Bible that really fascinates me, and it's in the first page, so if you have a copy handy, you probably do. And if you're listening to me in a hotel room, you probably have a copy handy as well. Right in the desk there. Just open it up underneath the lamp and the phone. But if you go to chapter
Genesis
1:11, yeah. So when you get to this chapter 11, verse 11, where it says, And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, which by its very definition, by the way, is the cannabis plant as well, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind. And God saw that it was so, whose seed was in itself and upon the earth, and it was so. And then the earth brought forth the grass, and the herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself and after his kind. And God said that it was good. So I'm just curious why God would make this plant and put it everywhere. And it's available because he brought it. A lot of people say the world is the devil's world now, but we go back to the beginning in Genesis. We understand that it was God that they're saying in the book is the one who summoned the herb-yielding seed and then brought it into creation. So I'm just wondering how it is that marijuana or peace with God are two different things, when clearly to me on page 1 of this manual here, it says that they are indeed, that this cannabis is a product of this maker. So I just wonder how you answer that kind of point.
That's true. He made everything. God created the heavens and the earth, man, and animals and plants and fish and birds, right. The whole shebang.
Sure, but I'm not eating fish to get high. I'm asking you why it is, or God, when you're talking about a thing that God envisioned, according to the Bible here, God envisioned needing this thing. It turns out it does actually have nutritional properties that without which we don't get to advance as much. You sound like you're advanced in years. You must know a long time ago that animals were eating hemp, and they were getting from the nutrients in hemp and cannabis the CBDs, which is the scientific property that guarantees or helps you maintain your body's health, okay? So when we took that out of the food chain 80 years ago, and then here's your cancer spiral over the last 80 years, and people are missing. It's almost like they legislated vitamin C out of legal access. So I don't know why it is where the science shows that this stuff is a food, that it helps create the balance of the body, and that in the Bible, according to the Bible, God decided we needed it, and God decided to bring it forth, and then God complimented himself by saying it was a good thing that it happened. So I don't understand why a person who's only a human being can put up a sign that says they're completely different. How is that anyway? Oh, now I'm just curious why that would even come to your mind, that it's an either-or proposition.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've just learned why I don't have guests on my show that counter my point of view. But thanks very much for putting up the sign, because it helps us understand that not everybody understands, but you've also taken it down. If you're going to put Bibles back in the school, which I think we should do anyway, just as a historical document, even for the folks that don't believe in it, I think we should turn right away to chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, and try to understand the discrepancy there.
Yep.
Well, thanks anyway for having your point of view. I'm sorry I was able to so easily put holes into it, but this is a food provided by the maker according to the Bible itself. So if a person who's living in a small town has got a problem with that, I really suggest you go back to the Bible and read it again. From the beginning.
That's cute.
It is cute. Yeah, well, you weren't able to give me any kind of counter. Like, you still haven't been able to answer why you would put marijuana or peace with God when God invented marijuana.
No.
No, it says you're arguing with the Bible now?
I'm not going to comment on it, or I could comment on it. Have you ever heard of dandelions?
Sure, yes, I have. Dandelions.
Dandelions can be medicinal.
I'm sorry, dandelions what?
Can be medicinal.
Yes, they can, but that doesn't explain why cannabis is or God. There's lots of medicinal plants. There are a bevy of medicinal plants. You're absolutely right about that. There are tons of them. It just happens to be that cannabis is also one of those plants. God decided, according to this book, God decided, gee whiz, we need some of this stuff. I'll make it. Hey, it's good. And now we've got a fella down the road telling us that it's bad. I just thought you might have an opportunity to clear that up.
That is funny.
It is funny, isn't it? Well, thanks for the sign. I really appreciate you taking a stab at trying to play the game. And hopefully, again, do a little research before
when marijuana becomes addictive and they start to say, oh, we made a mistake, then you'll understand. You have a good day.
Well, do you not drink alcohol? It's the same thing, right? Yeah. Oh, what a fella. Okay, so anyway, hey, listen, I wasn't going to say his name. I'm so glad he answered the phone, though, because I was going to have to, explain the story to you if he wasn't there. But there you go. The CBC has seen the wisdom of taking a story of one man who put up one sign that had 3 little messages on it. And they were contentious messages. God says no to homosexuality and abortion. So you got 2 people right there upset. Anybody who is gay and anybody that says or thinks they want an abortion. Then you got the Bible's back in school. Of course, atheists and non-believers in Christianity don't want that. And then marijuana or peace with God. And this guy can't even tell us. Well, God put dandelions are good for you. That's a great argument. I wasn't sitting here shitting all over dandelions, okay? I was just saying, you have a problem, sir. And I don't know how much money this guy spent on a billboard. But a ship without a rudder is tossed to and fro, and a man without a clue wastes money on billboards that don't tell you anything you need to know. So that's, some people wanted to burn it down and whatever, but I just wanted to hear what this old feller had to say about it. And I also wanted to point out that the CBC has gone out of their way to tell us this piece of news. So obviously at the editorial desk, someone decided it was important that an old man who doesn't really have his messages together needed to put this sign up there. I guess the CBC's looking for stories, right? Is that the thing where they needed to go to some old guy who's got a notion of a couple of contentious things? I mean, he sounded like a sweet old guy, probably nice to have dinner with, but his mindset is from a long time ago. So it's important to have that story. I might ask the CBC, and I have already done so, if it's possible, if that's interesting enough, if that's an interesting story that we need to get out into the world, that an old man has some old ideas and put a sign up about cannabis and the Bible and et cetera, and homosexuality and abortion, why wouldn't the CBC talk to one of their 10, 12 years off and on doing radio shows, television shows, introducing things, world's smartest person contest, whatever the hell, with, what's his name? George Stroumboulopoulos, and I was deeply involved in the building for a long time, and still it's not interesting enough to maybe take me out for an interview and ask me, wait a second, you used to be on this show, and then you claim you got this stage 4 disease, and then you claim you use cannabis to get out of it, and then you've been talking about it for a year, having people come on and trying to invite and have people on the show who are going to talk about the cannabis scene in that's now coming to Canada and this new wave, whether you're for it and against it, everything. And then no, that's not interesting enough. And then you took down the premier of the province. There's no story there for me. It's way more interesting and way more newsworthy to have an old guy clinging to a Bible who's afraid of gay people, saying the world's going to end as soon as cannabis becomes addictive. If it's addictive, it's already addictive. It's not going to become addictive. But then again, that explains why I don't work at the news department of a major news organization such as this one we have unleashed upon ourselves here. So, got that out of the way. Yeah, they must be stopped, and we've been trying to do that here. So hey, listen, we're gonna get out of here. It's been Green Crush. It's been fun to be here. I hope you get back to us with some help. Once again, real quick, patreon.podbean.com/greencrushpod. We will be taking any kind of help you can offer us. Come see us September 15, 16 at the old expo, the Hempfest Cannabis Expo. It's going to be great. We're going to learn a lot of things. You're going to love it. And I'm also hoping that we can continue with this little plan of ours to give you more information, help you make the choices, set you up with what you need to make sure your health stays where it needs to be. And a lot of times you don't necessarily need pharma for that. So look into cannabis, understand young people are getting it, like Emma, Some older people aren't. Like this gentleman whose counterposition to tell me that cannabis is not good is that dandelions are okay. Yeah, dandelions are okay. It's not going to do what cannabis does. But this old gentleman has a beef with his own God. Isn't that sad? All right. Well, we will come back to you next week. We'll be here for the next few weeks at least while we try to pull out all the stops. And continue with our lives. Thanks very much.